Well, on behalf of IDFC First Bank and the Economic Times Startup Awards, welcome to Ask the Expert, the show where you get to ask your questions to India's finest startup founders. My name is Suresh Venkat. Today's guest is Nithin Kamath, founder and CEO of Zerodha and Rainmatter. A little history now. Nithin founded Zerodha in 2010 with money that he had saved up. Using a flat fee model, Zerodha went on to become India's largest retail broking platform and one of the largest retail trading platforms anywhere in the world. Now, Nithin did all of this without raising any external money, either in the form of equity or debt. What's more, in 2022, Zerodha reported a net profit of over 2,000 crore. And Zerodha's latest announcement is the formation of their AMC and launch of their mutual fund. Welcome, viewers. This is an Ask the Expert session. You can ask Nithin any question you like. Please put your questions in the chat box in YouTube. Right? We have Nithin for 1 hour. I'm going to start off with a couple of questions while we wait for your questions to come in. So, Nithin, you've recently launched your own AMC. Why are you entering the mutual fund business?
Yeah, thanks, Suresh and ED for this. Mutual funds is kind of a natural extension of what we're doing. And we started Zerodha with a certain reason in mind, and that's evolved over time. Today, if you ask me why do we run Zerodha, it's more to help people do better with their money. And one aspect I think where India needs better products is around mutual funds. What can be done better in mutual funds in India? I think 2 aspects. One is, I think the entire mutual fund buying experience in the country is very complicated. We have 4,000 plus schemes. Most of us, who start investing in the markets in a mutual fund, we're really saving either for a retirement or, for a rainy day or something else. So I think the entire buying experience of mutual funds can be simplified. And 2 is, the world has kind of moved to a passive first kind of a platform. And if you look at most developed economies, the passive funds are outperforming the actives, the indices. In India, we don't have a thought leader in passive products. As in every AMC today offers both active and passive. And it's kind of a conflicted relationship, because you make more money with active, so do you sell active or do you sell passive? It isn't where you make lesser. So I think there's an opportunity also to be like an AMC which does only passive products. In that way, also create awareness on passives in India. So I think these are 2 reasons why we're doing it. And again, historically at Zerodha, what we've done is we've collaborated, partnered versus trying to do this all ourselves. So even for the AMC business, we've partnered with Small Case, our first partnership through Rainmatter. So we are the sponsor, and they'll be more running the business of sorts. That's really.
Okay. So you're going to be upsetting a lot of active fund managers with your product. If you're saying that the passives are outperforming the actives, any concerns that you're competing with a lot of smart people who are running active funds?
Yeah, see, the thing is, it's become very hard for fund managers to beat the index, especially in the large caps, right? Because it's just markets extremely efficient and the indices are kind of outperforming, not just in India, across the world. So it's just a bit natural that transition from active to passive will happen, right? Because in the passive, you're saving 1 percentage point in management fees. That itself can become like an alpha for the investor. So it's almost like a no-brainer that if you're investing in large cap funds, it's ideally should be in maybe in passives. Mid cap and small cap, I think still will take some time because I think the fund managers are doing better there. But eventually, over time, as this whole information asymmetry, kind of goes away, and I think it'll be harder there also to fund managers to kind of outperform the index. So, but no, this is, like I said, I think the AMC business is like a 10, 15-year play. This is not something, we don't expect that, in 6 months, 1 year, we would have made a difference. So this is like really a long.
And the low margins of the passive business doesn't bother you. You're able to make money even after with those low margins.
Yeah, I think. So today, what has happened is I think the active funds have high operational costs, just the way they're structured. And when they launch passive, it seems like it's expensive to run a passive AMC. But I don't think so. As in, I think a small team who's completely digital and leveraging technology can run this at very frugally of sorts. And also, with passives, the compliance cost, all of that also drops significantly. So I think it's possible for a passive only AMC to kind of make some money as well, running this. So, but only time will tell. We need to see how it goes.
In preparation for this interview, I've been scanning all your recent tweets. And one of your tweets you wrote about HDFC opening 4 branches a day in the last year. And that's a way to penetrate the Indian market. And you spoke about the power of brick and mortar financial institutions. So my question is obvious. Are we going to see a brick and mortar version of Zerodha?
So the thing is, back in 2011-12, the second year of the business, what has happened for us was, a lot of us, we were very small then, but customers used to look at us as a Bangalore-based broker, right? And it was very important for us to not be looked at like that, right? Because you want to be seen as a national broker. So we actually did that, thing already. We went around the country, set up offices, either ourselves or using partners back in 2011 onwards. And what we realized is every place we went, we set up shop, we did some PR, we got customers from that city. We started with Cochin, we went to Hyderabad, we went to Bombay, we went to Calcutta, we went across the board. And also, I think in the business of money, right? I think proximity also kind of brings credibility, right? I think the branches do so well because people around the branch tend to bank a lot more, and like financial transaction increases with the branch. But at Zerodha, with our pricing model, it's almost impossible to pull it off. I mean, unless we decide to kind of go back to some traditional pricing model, which will not work in today's world. So it doesn't fit our business model. But I think in the banking space, I think it's almost like a no-brainer. I think to be able to penetrate from now, maybe even in a broking space, if we had to penetrate markets today, like 10 crore Indians have demat accounts, around 2.5, 3 crore Indians actively invest in the market, which is once a year. Now, if you want to increase this number, maybe the next 5, 10 crore, 15 crore demat accounts is not, you can't maybe open it digitally. Maybe this needs you to set up physical presence. We are not positioned correctly for this. I think someone else will have to do it. Maybe that, typically the bank branch also has a securities department in it. So, everywhere, I'm sure HDFC is opening a branch, there is one guy from HDFC Securities sitting and helping opening, trading and demat accounts. So maybe they will do the job in us. Suresh, you're on mute.
Yeah, Nithin, since you brought up Bangalore, I'm going to ask you a Bangalore-based question. Your brother Nikhil hosted a podcast. There was a comment about Rameshwaram Cafe in that podcast. For those of you not from Bangalore, Rameshwaram Cafe is a tiny cafe in Bangalore, estimated to be about 15 feet by 15 feet, about 220 square feet per outlet, and they have multiple outlets in the city. But that's not what their secret sauce is. Every Rameshwaram Cafe is full all the time with a waiting line of 20 people outside. Now, Nithin, my question to you is this. Rameshwaram Cafe serves pretty much the same food as every other darshani in Bangalore. Idli, dosa, bisibelebath, the standard things that, in your view, what makes Rameshwaram Cafe so popular?
No, I think they're very consistent in the quality of product. I think a lot of restaurants, as they set up more shop, the consistency kind of goes away. Two, I think they've used technology to make the experience better. Like, even if it's a long, you kind of get through the queue fast. The selection of dishes and all of that, So I think they've done a decent job there. And at 3, I think it's just building the brand power, right? As in, like a lot of time people ask me, so we are the only broker in the country who charges an account opening fees. Like it's, like every broker gives goodies, a free t-shirt or something if you open an account. We actually charge 200 rupees for an account opening fee. And it's I think in my head, it's a brand building exercise. It's like, people, because especially in our business where, it's about trust and about keeping their hard-earned savings and securities with us. Like, setting collecting that account opening fees in a way also creates like, this is an important brand. And, it sets a seriousness right at the start.
Has a signaling value.
Yeah, it's like, we're not a Singapore, for example, like which you can because we also want that seriousness to set in right at the start, because this is about this is real money, right? We don't want people to not be serious when using our platform. So in a way, collecting that money upfront also helps set the expectations that you're doing something serious. You need to be, you shouldn't be taking it easy types. So, but yeah, Rameshwaram has done a phenomenal job actually.
Yeah. For those of you who are not from Bangalore, go to Bangalore and have a dish at Rameshwaram. Huge lines and standing on the road in the Bangalore heat, not very hot in Bangalore, but still they're standing in line and there's no chairs to sit down. You have to stand and eat. It's a very surprising business. That's an extraordinary success. And if you go by the numbers in that podcast, they're making 4.5 crores a day per outlet with a 70% gross margin. Now, those are impressive numbers. Nithin, do you ever see yourself investing in a business like that, a food business?
So, Rain Matter kind of, the initiative we started, to help, Indians do better with money. And we said, we can't do it ourselves. We need to partner, collaborate. So we started investing in startups. That has extended into health and climate. Health is something, I'm passionate about, health and fitness. So it's about organizations which are helping Indians make easier choices. And there we've started now kind of investing in, people working in the sector, like, like it easier for healthier choices of sorts. Like we've invested in the Whole Truth, which makes amazing, like protein bars. I mean, not even protein bars. It's like a meal replacement bar of sorts almost.
And chocolates and all of that. I've tried their product. I'm a customer of the Whole Truth.
Right, yeah. I mean, this happened because like every time I was at the airport, and it was hard to find anything that is healthier.
Yeah.
And the problem statement was that, and then it ended there. We've invested in Dish the Gills. We've done a bunch on through the with the intersection of our climate and health. We have a bunch of organizations which are helping farmers kind of move towards sustainable forms of agriculture. So we've invested in Akshay Kalpa. Now Akshay Kalpa, while the front end they sell milk and milk products, organic cakes, etc. But at the back end, they're helping farmers transition into more sustainable forms of agriculture. So and sustainable ways of farming, to be more honest. So we're investing, but not really a restaurant. I mean, Nikhil manages like a family office of sorts, in the sense, where he invests, where we have invested through that, but it's not something I don't really associate much about.
Okay. I'm going to take audience questions now. Rachna asks, what's the best way to reach a VC? There are no responses from VCs. They're mailing them, early stage company. They want to get a meeting with a VC. So let's take Rain Matter. If somebody were to get a meeting with Nikhil or one of the representatives of Rain Matter, how should they go about it? Any member of the audience?
Yeah, I think, see, the thing is, at Rain Matter, we've picked up 3 causes, right? Which is finance, health, and climate, right? Now, anything which doesn't fall in the scope, if someone's interested in pitching, I would not be interested at all. And in the sense, I don't think the team is interested. So I think firstly, it's about figuring out which VC is interested in what, right? Because not every VC is investing into everything, right? And 2 is, every day I probably receive 10 to 15 pitch deck.
Yeah, I imagine.
So it means I probably give it 15 seconds, right? I'm not really opening every deck and going through every slide. I mean, it's impossible, right? I forward it to our team, but before I forward it to the team, I probably give it 15 to 30 seconds. So the idea has to be, how do you capture attention in those 15, 30 seconds? Do you want to be telling your background, like my education, my this thing, or do you want to actually get to the problem statement right at the start, right? I think a lot of entrepreneurs want to first build up a story before they tell you. But you need to understand that the person on the other side maybe doesn't have the bandwidth to read all of that. And maybe it should always, your email, including the subject line, should probably be just that one problem statement that you're going after. And because I think the best odds of someone being interested is if they can kind of quickly relate to that statement and what you're trying to solve for, right? And 3, I think it's hard work, and I don't think every person should take money from every VC. It's like marrying someone. Like you don't, like marry the first person who responds, right? So I think, I've seen like a lot of founders actually, go to all these networking events, make friends in the ecosystem, figure out who's the right kind of VC to take money for. Because some VCs are good in e-commerce, some VCs are good in fintech. I mean, you need to be able to take money from the right kind of people, because then it's just not money. You also get a lot of synergies that come along with that relationship. So yeah, so you need to do some of that as well. I think even before VCs, I think something that a lot of founders miss out on is angels, actually, right? Angels, I think, actually add a significant amount of value. So like I've seen some of the best founders, what they do is when they're in their ideation stage, they have angels who, like people who are thought leaders in their spaces, interact with them, build engagement, like build a relationship with them. And because, like, if someone writes to me, even if it's not raising any money, if someone, he or she writes to me and says, I'm thinking about stock markets and this is the, like, what do you think? I would respond back to him immediately, like no agenda, right? Because if it's something that's of interest, and over time, if that relationship leads to an investment, it leads to an investment, right? As in, otherwise, what happens? It becomes very transactional. Like if you say, what, blah blah blah, I need this much money, right? As in, in life it doesn't work.
Show me the money, yeah.
So in life, you need to first build the relationship and then ask for the money. So I mean, yeah. So I think all of these things, but it isn't easy, especially in a time like now where VC money is dry. It isn't easy to get an answer from a VC very easily.
So if I were pitching to Nithin Kamath, my subject line would use the word climate, health, or stock market, right? One of the three words to get your attention, at least for you to open the mail and give me those 15 seconds to give you the pitch that I'm trying to pitch you. All right, another question from an audience member. Rupam Patel asks, do you think traditional broking houses can compete with discount brokers? Zerodha has been around for a while, Nithin. And the traditional securities companies haven't managed to compete with you. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think this discount broking itself is I don't think is a misnomer today, because everyone is at low cost. So there is no more discount broker. Because
everybody's a discount broker. Okay.
So I think what differentiates brokers today is really the products, initiatives, and the brand, right? As in, so whoever has built a better, of these three things, I think it'll win the races. And this is something that we keep talking in the office all the time, that there is no status quo in today's world, right? And everyone's going to get disrupted unless you're adapting and evolving quickly. Mm-hmm. I think the thing that we focus most on is, how do we continue remaining nimble, right? The big problem for most companies is that as you get larger, you stop behaving like a startup, right? As in, I think, a startup is really a person who can adapt quickly, right? I mean, so even though we are 13 years old now, and we are quite large, in our head, we still think we're a startup because, like I could, someone could suggest me something right now, I could take it up as an idea and I could have the product up in no time at all, right? And that, agile way of thinking is really, I think, what differentiate businesses like, what Rupert Murdoch has said, which is, I think today's word is about the big beating, it's about the fast beating the slow and not the big beating the small, right? It really comes down to that. So can traditional brokers catch up to us? I mean, of course they can, but I think they will have to rebuild the product. And the problem with a lot of older firms, which are legacy technical debts of sorts, is that usually, when there's a problem, the people who are heading the business, their incentives are to patchwork versus rebuild.
Rebuild, right?
Yeah. And the rebuilding is usually, it's mostly done by founders and not really by, CXOs of sorts, and and that's really, I think, the issue, for incumbents of sorts, because people come, they have 3-year, 5-year targets, they will do what is right for 3 to 5 years. But really, I think if someone, I mean, it's just not traditional brokers. I mean, I think it applies in every space.
Traditional businesses, generally speaking.
Right, yeah.
Vinayak Agarwal asks, Nithin, your thoughts on buy now, pay later format for stocks and the risks associated with that product?
Yeah. See, the thing is, one of the, we don't offer this as a product in Zerodha. I mean, in the stock market parlance, it's called margin funding. So you want to buy 100 rupees of stock. If you have 10 rupees with you, So I'll say you have 100 rupees in the account and you come on the platform will say you can buy 500 rupees of stocks. And I'll charge interest on the remaining 400. Right? But the issue with this is that because you've borrowed money and you've taken leverage, every time market goes against you, the broker will ask you to add more money, or he will essentially force your position out. He'll square off the positions. And okay, so historically, one of the reasons I think investors have done well investing in Indian markets is because they've invested in sat tight, as in done nothing, right? But when it comes to leverage, if there's leverage in the system, people will be forced to exit. For example, in the COVID March 2020, April 2020, the stock markets were down like 30-40%. And anyone who had any kind of leverage would have gotten cleaned out, right? But if someone who had invested and sat tight, he would have come through unscathed, and probably would have made money at the end of it, right? So I think the issue with this buy now BNPL or MTF, etc., is that it introduces leverage to people who don't maybe understand how to use leverage, right? Leverage is like, it's like WMD, it hurts most people. And, it should be used sparingly and only by those who are experienced in using it. And this is why, while this can potentially add a lot of revenue to our business, we have stayed away from it. Today, we have competitive pressure to launch it, but even if we were to launch it, we'll probably keep it as a hidden feature and not try to kind of trigger people into borrowing, because usually when a person comes to our platform and decides to buy a stock, he's already enabled by greed, and we don't want to kind of push him to be more greedy of sorts. And yeah, so it's one of those philosophical kind of things for us. And
yeah, that's an important point. It's not about just business. There's a philosophical element to your business as well. Another philosophical element, Nithin, may be people who trade in F&O without fully understanding how F&O works. And I keep reading reports that 9 out of 10 F&O traders on the net lose money, right? Is this a social problem? Is this something that's building up into personal debt and is going to spill over into a social crisis if this many people are losing that much money?
Yeah, so the thing is, firstly, I'll tell you the size of the market, because if you read the headlines, it seems it's much larger. So
yeah,
the only 40-45 lakh Indians who traded F&O. Like, so it's not like 20 crore or 25 crore who use gaming platforms. So it's not like comparatively the number.
Yeah, much smaller.
Right? So secondly, I think the problem with F&O is that is people come trade the markets with the wrong expectations, right? In the sense, there's this whole, I think one of the problems in the last 2-3 years, especially with this rise of social media, along with COVID and all of that, has been, people on social media making it seem like somehow trading the markets, you can make money easily and quickly, right? And this is something that we've been doing as a business right from the start, setting the expectations, saying, stock markets are probably the hardest place in the world to make easy money. I mean, you probably have got a better chance making money buying lottery tickets than, like if you want to make easy money, it's easier to buy lottery tickets versus trying to trade the markets. And also the thing is, trading the market is almost like running a business, right? I mean, for every 100 businesses that start, maybe only one survive, right? And because you need to be able to build moats, you need to be able to build an edge, you need to have enough capital, right? You need to have patience, you need to learn, as in all of these comes together, and you get some luck playing along your way, you can probably do well in the market. It's just exactly like how it works in running a business, exactly like how it would work if someone decides to take a sport as a career, or being in art as a career, right? As in, the chances of hitting it out of the park is very, very, very low of sorts. And the problem with trading is that it's very easy for people to get started trading. And if I want to start a business, I had to go set up an account. I mean, I had to get a PAN I had to set up a company, set up a PAN, set up office, raise some capital. But trading, anyone can do it in 5 minutes, and which is really what the problem is. So I think SEBI has been doing like a bunch of things which are right. As brokers, I think we also have like this, like a responsibility to ensure people are made aware of how hard it is to trade, and also educate people that there is nothing called easy money, quick money in life. It's a lot of grind of sorts. So we're doing all of that. I usually, like I used to be a trader most of my life, My younger brother still trades full time. Nikhil still trades full time. And I think this like some of all my life lessons, I think I've learned from trading. So I think trading is something that's worth giving a shot because it's a great way to learn how you behave under the influence of greed, fear, money, and all of that. And it has you learn life lessons that'll be useful in across whatever else you do in life as well. But I think the most important thing about trading is to know when to stop, which is you start trading, you don't do well, you stop immediately and do something else. And trading isn't, and I keep saying this, which is trading isn't trading stocks or F&O. It's really trading your time to do what can give you the maximum outside return for your time. Like I think my time is best suited to run Zerodha because I'll have the most outside return for the time I'm putting in. For Nikhil, it is trading stocks and F&O, right? So which is why I continue running the business and he continues trading, and we both have an outsized return of sorts. And I think as the right framework to look at trading, it's not just trading stocks.
Okay, let me ask you a personal question. What's it like running a company with your sibling? There are many companies that were run by siblings, some of them successfully and some of them split amicably and some not so amicably. Do you see any risks there in working with a sibling?
We've been doing this together. So, I mean, I'm 7 years elder to Nikhil. So 7 years into my business, Nikhil joined me in a way. So, I think what we've done right is that we stay away from each other's path. So, like I said earlier, I run broking. He runs trading. So I never question why he takes the trades, and he never questions my business decisions. Because I think usually the conflicts arise when you start intersecting, right? As you start crossing ways is when you, and we built enough trust in each other's decisions to not question each other as such as well. And but we're also, I think, internally we both, I think I do this a lot more, which is every time to be, not to keep anything in your head, because usually a lot of these conflicts in life happen when you don't express what you're feeling and you keep holding back, and then the thing gets pent up over a while, and then that's really when all of these things go bad. So I usually, if something bothers me, I usually talk about it almost instantly, and that's the same way I run all my relationship, not just with my brother, even I think in the office or even with my wife or whatever. So it's helped me significantly because then you're not running around with the baggage in your head. It then gives you more time to do other things in life. So yes.
You said you're 7 years older and you founded Zerodha and he joined you. Does that mean there is an unwritten or written hierarchy of who's the boss and who's the deputy boss?
I mean, I started, when I say we started doing, I was a sub-broker of Reliance Money in 2005, 2006. And I think Nikhil was like 17, 18 years old then. And that's when, he joined, and we were doing that before Zerodha as well. But when Zerodha started, like I said, we think of Zerodha as two aspects. One is the investments aspect, and one is the broking aspect, which is the business. So he's the boss of investments, I'm the boss of broking. That's really how we've segregated the business.
Split in the business itself. All right. Another audience question from Kishita Varia, unrelated to anything to do with broking and fintech. Kishita says that they run a custom software development firm. The team has outstanding quality and coding standards. How do they convince new clients to choose them over cheaper quality? How do you gain the trust of your clients that you may be serving something that looks like somebody else's, but your quality is far, far higher?
I mean, it's a really hard problem. It just takes time. I think usually with this quality, it's usually word of mouth, right? As in, it's over time. If you have one customer, just create like such a wow experience that he goes around talking about you, right? I mean, that's really the best way to, I think, build a business, especially in the space that she is in, right? As in, otherwise it's impossible because every pitch will, like if you look at an advertisement, say even a broking platform's advertisement, every broking platform will make it seem like their platform's the best.
Yeah.
Right? So every single competitor of hers will probably be saying exactly the same thing, which is we are the best, right? As in, like it's very hard to differentiate. I think the way to do it is, like I said, a lot of people, I think the problem with entrepreneurs is, especially the newer generation entrepreneurs, is that expectation that you'll be able to build a business quickly. It doesn't, it takes a long time. Even with Zerodha, right? As in, I started trading the markets in the late 90s. So in my head, I think Zerodha really started in the late 90s. And we got lucky in maybe 2016, like, when financially lucky of sorts.
That's a long time to do something before getting so-called successful or lucky.
Yeah, so it took 15 years at least, 15, 16 years before you financial success. And it's the same story as it. I mean, the Facebook types are exceptions, where someone started and suddenly in 1 or 2 years he became, suddenly become very rich and very big as a business, right? As in otherwise, it's mostly grind. As in, and I think anyone who's starting up has to be ready to grind, which is put 5-10 years into it, and be okay, grinding those 5-10 years. And yeah, of course, you get lucky somewhere, you might turn out okay faster, but generally it is building. Usually, I have this way, because of this climate thing, I keep meeting these scientists who are working in around trees and etc. And my question usually to them is there a way you can grow a forest quickly, right? And the answer is no. I mean, you can grow a tree quickly, but you can't grow a forest quickly because it's an interconnected system. Like a forest has multiple things, right? As in a tree, you can add fertilizers and some growth hormones, etc., and make it grow fast. But not really a forest, And building a business is like that. It's a forest. That's it.
Okay, next question comes from two viewers. I'm going to give you both their names. Karan Bora is one, and Pratik Medikonda is the other. Karan says, how to build a great team to sustain in the market for startups. And Pratik says, how do you maintain culture in organization as the startup is growing? Nithin, you said a little while ago that even though you're a fairly large company now, you're a fairly mature startup, you can still act nimbly. You can make nimble changes. My question to you, I'm going to add to Pratik and Karan's question by saying, do you think startups mirror the personality of the founder, in this case, you?
Yeah, no, I think it does. As in, I think eventually the business is a culture of the person running the business, right? Which actually kind of seeps through over time. I mean, I think, in terms of hiring, I think what we've done right from the go is not overselling to attract people to join you, right? One of the, in this whole hire, in this whole hurry to hire talent quickly, what happens is it's very natural for a founder to oversell what you're doing as a business, and oversell saying, like I'll just give an example. Like last year when we were hiring, we were at the top of bull market 2 years back, and someone said, someone came to join, and I told him, "Are you sure you want to join us? Because we are at the top of the bull market, and we might be a bear market for the next 5 years, and your decision, to time the market top may be actually wrong. Wrong time to join someone who's a broker." And so that, versus trying to tell him a story that, we are a bull market, will grow continuously for the next 10 years. Because what happens when people join with the wrong expectation, they get disappointed, right? And if they're disappointed, they're not going to stick around. And when they're disappointed, they also kind of mess up with the culture of the business, right? Because for the time they're disappointed, they're a negative force for the business. And so I think it's about hiring right. Which again requires a lot of patience. I think like with our tech team, for example, Kailash is just so painful while hiring. I have to beg him to hire more people, and he hires. Last year we hired 2 people, and he said we overhired. And it's that. But if I look back right now at our business, I think a lot of Kailash's philosophies has kind of seeped through in the way we look at hiring. And yeah, so. And also the general sense, especially the business folks, right? We think that you throw money at problem, somehow money and people problem solve. It doesn't, So like more people actually end up complicating problems versus simplifying it. I think we need to kind of get away from that mindset that somehow the answer to your all your life problems is in this other person, right? As in, who can come and solve it for you. So as and when you keep adding more people, it's just you potentially end up complicating the problem, right? So I think this whole culture, philosophies, etc., of business definitely comes through the way I think as a founder. I think in the business, and so yes, it's important that what you say and do as a founder is thought through correctly, and it's also very natural. Because a lot of times I've seen founders being unnatural, and it's very hard to be unnatural for long periods of time. right? As in, if I'm a soft and timid guy and I get up and wanting to be like, this guy, like being aggressive and pushing everyone, I can do it for 1 day, 2 days, but I'll not be able to do it for 20 years, right? And if I can only do what I can do naturally for the, like, long periods of time. So I think it's also about that, because the other problem in the ecosystem is to do this whole cut, copy, paste, which is, oh, this guy said this, so I should do this. I think everything works in a certain context. So I think it's good to learn from others, but and then think about it and then implement what feels right for you, versus just copying someone else and like in the way someone else runs a business.
Okay, now speaking of markets hitting all-time highs, we have a question from Bairam Manohar. He says, when markets hit you new highs, like they've been doing in the last few weeks and months, new investors are lured to invest. Many people get tempted when markets hit historic highs. Now, this has been proven to be disastrous for retail investors. How to tackle this issue, Nithin, of people investing right at the top?
It's very hard. It's really, really hard. I mean, this is something that we think about all the time. And I almost end up coming across like a pessimist, because I'm constantly telling everyone, right, within the team, even to our customers, all our interactions, all our emails, all our education is around, it's just be safe, just be safe, just be safe, and so I think we are lucky to be part of one of the greatest bull markets of India of all times, right? And so it's very hard in a bull market to even call a top, right? As in, it's like we are at 20,000, we could be 25,000, who knows, right? Or we could be at 15,000. As in, it's really hard to call markets directions as well. So the only thing that works for most people, right, as in is like, while as a stockbroker, I should ideally be telling people to buy stocks, but I usually say just do mutual fund SIP. That's really the best way to do this. If you don't have the time or like the education to be able to pick up individual stocks, and if you're buying individual stocks, you have to always stick with the trend, right? As in, this whole trying to time the markets is really the folly for most people, right? As in, if market's going up, I think we just have to shut up and sit quiet, and let it.
That's damn tough to do, though, for many people to shut up and sit quiet.
Which is really hard. As in, it's I sometimes think, if Zerodha were a listed company, would I have been tempted to, because generally with all this pessimism that we've hit all-time highs, it'll go down, would I have sold some of my stock or not? It'll be, I keep thinking about this.
Okay. Next question comes from our viewer, Ubaidul Haq, who says, quite a simple question, Nithin, but actually it has profound implications. What exactly is a scalable business model across any sector?
So I see, the thing is, I think scalable is really where your business revenues can go up without your cost going up, catching up along with it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like just at Zerodha, for example, we've gone from 1 million customers, like 10 lakh customers, to 1.3 crore customers. The team size remaining at 1,100, right? As in, we have net not added, while the business has grown 10x, 11x, and I think that's real. That's that's a scalable business, right? As in, where you can actually, your business can grow while your cost doesn't grow as much. Mm-hmm. And does it have to go so much higher? As in, that is not in our control, right? It could not have been 1.3 crores, it could have been 30 lakhs, right? But it still went from 10 lakhs to 30 lakhs without the cost going up, right? And I think that's really, maybe what scalable business means. That means you can scale while keeping the cost low.
Okay. So Nithin, obviously some businesses can't do that. Food delivery comes to mind, airlines come to mind. You can't scale without buying more resources and hiring more people. So in those kind of businesses, what does scalability mean?
Yeah, I think then probably it comes down to margins, right? Your margins keep going up as you start scaling. If your margin shrinks as you add more costs, your margins also have to kind of go up over time, I guess. And in food delivery, I think it's just I think we're seeing all those corrections that has happened because of the excess funds that came into the ecosystem because of whatever the VC bubble in the US, right? As in, otherwise, I think the food delivery business isn't. I don't know if you can really compare it to an airline business. Actually, a food delivery business should be run with very low operational costs, right? Because you're not really paying anyone upfront, right? As in your cost is really just running an app, right?
Mhm.
And your delivery boys get paid actually after some time, right?
Ideally, from the margin that you make from the delivery itself, but well, we'll leave it at that. Okay, I have Akash Yadav who asks you actually a philosophical question, Nithin. How do you know you're rich enough to control your life and your death and to enjoy your life? Because I've heard of some entrepreneurs in California who are experimenting with bionic devices and trying to delay aging, delay death. I know you're a big health freak. I've seen your photographs with what's it called, the Devil's Circuit, the extreme health challenges you take up. Steve Jobs, one of the world's most proficient technology pioneers and fairly wealthy man, couldn't control his own death. Do you ever think about health and death?
Yeah, I mean, I think especially after COVID, I've been thinking about it quite a bit. So I cleaned up my diet significantly. So I think I'm at quite a low. I mean, my body fat percentage is probably the lowest it's been since I started business, and I probably feel fitter than I've ever been. I think the mental framework right now is that I need to finish strong, right? I mean, if life is a marathon, you need to be running your now whenever it ends, absolutely it's absolutely not in your control. But whenever it ends, you need to be closing strong of sorts. And closing strong means being physically, mentally agile and healthy and all of that. So I care quite a bit about health, both physical and mental. Mental more because mentally, if I'm not in the right place, physically, I definitely won't be in the right place. So yeah, I give time to myself. I play a little bit of music every day. I spend time with my son. I try to kill all my devices by 7:30 every night. I sleep early. I try to get up early, and I give myself. I get up at 5, so I try to give myself like 1-2 hours early in the morning because that's when it's quiet. The world is quiet without any distractions. So I think it's just led to a better outcome. Like some of these, like sleeping early for me has been such a great life hack because from what historically, I've had a problem with binging, and all my binging used to be late in the night. When you're emotionally weak, right? At the end of the day, you're tired and you're like, that 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. was really like the hardest.
I deserve this ice cream, or I deserve this burger, or I deserve this pizza. That's when you start feeling those things.
Weak, you say you give it given, right? As in you just say, what. So just going to bed by then has taken away those 2 hours of binging that I used to do. I think I must have lost at least a few body fat percentage points.
Just by going to sleep early? Well, there's a good life hack for you. Go to sleep by 9 o'clock. Switch off all your devices by 7 o'clock. That's Nithin Kamath's advice. Okay, we have about 17 minutes more for this Ask the Expert. So please do post your questions. This is Ask the Expert with Nithin Kamath. Okay, next question. You spoke about mental health just now, Nithin. Now, startup founders, I've spoken to many of them who both publicly and some of them publicly, many of them privately admit that's a really lonely journey. There's these ridiculous highs and lows. And within a single day, your emotions can swing. Got a great term sheet, emotions swing up. Term sheet not so good, emotions swing down. What can startup founders do? And I think Avinash Jadhav has asked this from our viewers. What should be a line of action when you start losing money, you start losing mental health, you start losing your peace of mind? How should entrepreneurs deal with this roller coaster?
See, I think with me, I kind of got a little lucky because I used to be a trader, like a day trader of the market.
So you're used to the up and down.
It was like playing T20 every day. So and I've learned a lot of my life lessons being a trader, like I said. So I've blown up a couple of times in my life. I've borrowed and blown up. And so I think some of that has made it, all the volatility I've seen in Zerodha doesn't even feel like a volatility because of all that I've seen in my life before Zerodha, So, but I think generally one of the things I think I've done right, which maybe is a good idea for founders to think about is around thinking of the worst case outcome before doing anything. And usually, like the problem with this emotional volatility is when you expect something and you expect something good to happen to you. And that's when, all the volatility kind of creeps in. Now, if you're always constantly prepared for the worst case outcome, your expectations are usually very muted of sorts, and it's just I like it's helped me, significantly. I don't know if everyone can be like that, but I usually, before I do anything, I'm always constantly thinking, what's the worst that can happen with this? If the worst is what I can make peace with, I'll do it. If I can't, I won't do it. Right. Like, for example, today, every time we invest into a company, I usually think, am I okay blowing up this entire investment amount? Like,
Or
if
it will
that's
go to zero.
it's going to zero, and then if it feels I can do it, then I'll do it. But then everything seems like an upside from there. In the sense it's a if you go around like that. But yeah, it's there's no easy answer to this problem. I think
Okay.
the only thing I think every founder should, like, it's like this, right? Before people start trading the markets, like how I'm telling that it's the hardest place in the world to make easy money. I think being a founder and building a business is also one of the hardest ways in world to make money. It's like, you're going to a jungle and trying to, like, try to get whatever that lion is eating, right? As in go after that piece, because usually in every business there is already a lion in place, right?
Real lie, yeah, true.
So it isn't easy of sorts.
So Richa Bharadwaj asks, okay, we understand entrepreneurship is tough when you're trying to steal food from lions. But Richa asks, Nithin, how important is a co-founder? Should a founder go it alone or find co-founders?
Mm, for me, like, see, the thing is with Zerodha, what happened with Nikhil and me we were doing two different things, right? I think Kailash joined us in 2013-14, and having Kailash around has been just like brilliant. So I think it's not about having a co-founder, it's having the right co-founder, right? As in, like, it's that, it's like you want to get married to this co-founder of sorts. So it's about finding the right person. I'm sure a right person will definitely make your life easier, no doubt about it. There is, yeah. And if you end up having a bad co-founder, then life's going to be hell, right? So it's like that. So I think how, generally I would say it's maybe a good idea to have a co-founder, especially given how lonely this journey potentially can be.
Hmm. Okay, on the back of it, then I think there's another question that came up. Yeah, Sri Krishna Parthasati asks, how does one find funded startups looking for tech co-founders? How do you make this marriage happen? Is there a dating site or a speed dating site for founders looking for co-founders?
Yeah, no, there is, and I mean, like, orgs like YC, I think in India, Antler is trying to do this. Like, like, put people together and see if they bond, like, put tech folks and people with ideas together and see if something like a marriage happens. But I think it's a lot of luck, isn't it? It's just, I think as a founder, as a non-tech guy, I think the best you can do is just be extremely passionate about your problem, right? Because your best odds of finding a co-founder is based on your passion about what you are saying and doing, right? I mean, unless you're madly passionate, it's unlikely that someone who's extremely skilled in terms of tech will come and want to co-found this with you, right? So yeah, so I think then it then comes down to saying, what is the problem that you are attempting to solve? Is this a problem that you're really passionate about, or it just felt like a decent idea that you should attempt, right? And also the other thing, like I said earlier, right, with angel investing, etc., it's also about going and building a network of sorts. I think it's also very important for everyone who is in the entrepreneurial circuit, is that this network will not just help you find angel investors, it can also help you find your tech co-founders, etc. So usually, if I could say if there's one advice I could give to most founders, wannabe entrepreneurs, is like they say, that you sharpen your axe before you were chopping wood. So like spend 2-3 years but in that industry, and
Sharpen your game.
yeah, I mean, build network, get to know the right kind of people, before you actually go build. Just your odds of doing well increases significantly.
You're a pretty private person, Nithin. Do you spend a lot of time networking, or did you spend a lot of time networking in the industry before Zerodha hit the current size and scale that it is?
Yeah, I mean, so like I had spent 12 years in the business of broking before Zerodha, right? So it kind of, the core competence was built before Zerodha. It was not a lot of, I mean, we have definitely learned a lot along the way, but that competence was there. And I used to run a bunch of online communities before Zerodha, which is on Orkut and Yahoo Messenger and all of that. So there was that networking built. So I was connected to a lot of people from the trading and broking ecosystem. Kailash happened accidentally, right? But Kailash also happened because Kailash was doing a startup along with a couple of his friends. And at that point of time, to the 2012, 13, we started making some money. We were looking at investing in startups, which are working on, this whole solving for money problems. And that connection happened because of that, right? As in that whole us going out there and trying to find startups who are trying to solve for, money problems. So if I was not doing that, I would not have met Kailash, and maybe Zerodha wouldn't be here today. So it is, yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of luck in running a business. I mean, like if someone says there isn't, they must be joking, So there is, you have to also be at the right place, right time, so.
Okay. Next question comes from Bhavuk Garg. So let me start with the last part of his question first. He says, my name is Bhavuk Garg. I'm literally one of your biggest idols and fans. Now, you're an entrepreneur. You're not a movie star or a rock star. You have lots of fans. Does this affect you in any way, your fame and the fact that you have a fan following you personally, Nithin, not Zerodha? That there is a fan following that wants to follow you personally?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think, no, I'm generally a very non-social kind of a person. So I'm either in my house or in the office. You're unlikely to find me anywhere else. So
not at parties and wearing fancy clothes and appearing in page 3?
No, not at all. So yeah. So I the thing is, this whole having a social media presence. Actually, I was quite late to the party. Until Economic Times actually broke the story of Zero the first time in 2011. We suddenly realized how much value that brought to the business. So between 2011 to 2017, 18, I spent all my time talking to journalists and just the country, trying to get us featured, etc. But then I think 2017, 18 is also when we realized that, there's a social media platform, which is, kind of probably where I should be spending more time. So I joined LinkedIn in 2019. I actually joined Twitter late 2019 and started saying some of the ideas and things that I have in mind. I think what has helped me stand out is just the ability, the freedom to be able to say and do things which is hard for others to say and do. It's not like I'm the only one with this idea, right? But a lot of people are carrying baggage of having investors, being listed, and all of that. So it's very hard for people to be
candid
of sorts. I mean, I could talk about anything right now, this conversation, right? There's nothing. Right. So yeah, I think that has kind of helped us, kind of build this following. I think I think of it as it brings obligation. Actually, I get scared sometimes saying, now every time I'm saying something, I'll draft something on my Google Doc. I'll get 2-3 people to look at it. Think of all the angles in which this can be
potentially any scandals it could cause or anybody it could offend. Okay, now I'll come to Bhavuk's actual question. In all the years that you and Nikhil ran Zerodha, was there any offer so lucrative that you already had even a slight thought of saying, let's dilute some part of our equity or let's sell Zerodha? Had that thought ever occurred?
I mean, see, the thing is, like those ridiculous offers started coming in 2017, 18 onwards. Actually, in 2020 is when, like someone said, no, I'll give you a blank check of sorts.
And you're saying ridiculous offers on the record. So people who made those offers know that you're calling them ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, this is a time when, say, Robinhood was valued at some $80-90 billion. Today is like $7 or $8 billion, right? As in, it's dropped that much. But so there's an Indian equivalent. So someone in the US thinking, they should be valued X and etc. So no, I think for us, me, Nikhil, Kailash, the core team, all of us, I think our lifestyle didn't catch up with our net worth. Right? Usually, money is important when you can do something with the money. Right? As in my lifestyle, what I do with my money has remained the same for the last 6-7 years. As in net worth going up, whatever times has made no difference to it. So money, I mean, I think in a way, at least the way I think of money is freedom. Right? This whole not having the obligation to pick up someone's phone call, just being able to do whatever we are doing through Rain Matter, etc., and without having to answer someone else for it. So yes, when someone says I want to invest, I think of it as an obligation. So it is. We have never thought of it to take money off the table. But in 2017-18, we had a few days when we had tech issues and etc. Because this is the first time we scaled as a business, and some of the underlying infra was not ready for the scale that we were at. And what happens is, in a business, when you care too much, you end up loving the customer, and then when some customers say bad things, it starts affecting you. So it was, I think 2018 was when I was probably pushed to the edge a couple of times. Not to make money. It's like saying, dude, maybe we should do something else in life, just we've done this well, maybe we should just exit it. Like thoughts like that, which didn't last for more than a day. But you usually get pushed to the edge and you're like, dude, what am I doing in life? So and stuff like that. That has happened once or twice, but it has never been because someone has offered an X amount of money.
Okay. And now here's a question that, Nithin, we have to ask you. I know you get this asked at every single forum. Chris Choker, one of our viewers, asks, is it best to bootstrap, take a loan, or look for investors? In fact, I've asked you this question so many times, I think I can answer on your behalf. So, bootstrap, debt, or equity?
There is no one answer for all of this, right? As in, it's in context. If Zerodha has to be built again today, it's impossible to do it bootstrapped, right? As in, it worked because it was 2010. We didn't have any competition for 3-4 years. It was a time when most stockbrokers were trying to diversify, because it was really the worst time to talk. In hindsight, it was a good time, but back in 2010 was the worst time to start a broking firm. So all of that came together, and we could do this bootstrap, but it's impossible to do it today. I think the way people should look at money is raising money in whatever form, debt or equity. It brings an obligation. I think VC money is almost like a glorified loan, right? As in, because when
you're managing to piss off all the VCs as well, right? The glorified loan.
Because see, the thing is, when you take money from a VC, until you return the person's money back, you can't take an equity upside.
Obligation, yeah, true.
There's a liquidity preference, so the person giving you money. So in a lot of cases, the VC has to be paid an interest before you see the equity upside. And so it is a loan, right? As in, there is, it's maybe unsecured loan, but it's in a way it's a loan.
Some other loan by other terms. Okay, we have only 2 minutes left. I'm going to ask you a couple of personal questions. Like I said in the start of this interview, you can choose not to answer them. Okay, personal question number 1. Your father wasn't a very rich man. You were born to a middle-class father, but your son has a rich father. How do you make sure he grows up without a sense of entitlement?
The toughest problem in my life, right? I put him in a right school. It's a Jiddu Krishnamurthy school, and we're trying to, make sure he understands the privilege that he's born into. And but I think I ask this question every time I meet Nandan Nilkani as this is my question to them, because they've done it right.
Yeah.
So I need to maybe lead by example for him.
Okay. What's the last movie that you watched?
Oh, man, I can't even remember. I've been wanting to watch Oppenheimer, but it's been pending. No, I think, this other problem that I have right now is that usually when I'm watching something, I'm doing something else. This whole, multitasking is, I think, deteriorating.
It's been proven that it's not good for mental health, multitasking. Single tasking is far better for health.
Yeah, right. No, I had this problem. I might have watched a movie last week, but I can't recall because I was probably playing chess or I was doing something else while watching. So, sorry, it's so weird. I can't recall actually.
Right. The final question, Nithin, where are the markets going to go from here?
No idea. One thing I have absolutely no idea, and it's not. I'm not saying this because I have some regulatory restriction in saying this, but I truly don't know.
All right, that brings us to the end of this episode of the ET Startup Award Ask the Expert. Nithin Kamath, thank you. That's a fantastic 1 hour. Thank you for being candid. Thank you for answering all our viewers' questions. And we will be hopefully seeing you at the awards itself. That's in about 4 weeks from now. Thank you very much. Members of the audience, thank you very much. Next Wednesday, that is the 20th of September, our second guest will join us. It's going to be Upasana Taku, co-founder of MobiKwik. She will be with us in the Ask the Expert episode next Wednesday, 20th at 3 p.m. Nithin Kamath, once again, thank you very much, and we wish you all the best.
Thanks, Suresh. Bye.
Thank you, and thanks for watching.